Hello everyone! In this video, we'll be going over the Vocabulary Workshop Level Blue Unit 1 words. You can follow along at home using your book. Let's get started! Our first word is blunder. Blunder can be used as a verb and it means to make a foolish or careless mistake, to move clumsily and carelessly. When you blunder, you make a mistake, usually because you weren't paying attention or maybe you were rushed. The example sentence says, I saw the hiker blunder through the woods. So maybe in this sentence, the hiker was carelessly walking around in the woods. Maybe he was a little bit clumsy and just not being careful. So we can use this verb blunder to describe his actions. And blunder can also be used as a noun. It is a serious or thoughtless mistake. The example sentence says, I was terribly embarrassed by my blunder. So here as a noun, imagine a situation where you have a math problem like this, a very simple math problem, but you get the answer incorrect. So we can call this situation that happened a blunder. So in this picture here, I could say, choosing the wrong answer was a big blunder. It was a big mistake. And since blunder can also be used as a verb to talk about someone who is being clumsy or careless, I can say, the puppy blundered down the street, falling down many times. Here, I could say he blundered by stacking too many boxes on top of each other. It was a careless mistake because the boxes could fall down and hurt someone. You can even say something like, I made a blunder when I forgot my backpack at home. I made a mistake. So anytime that someone is acting in a clumsy or careless way, or makes a mistake that they really shouldn't have made if they were thinking carefully, you can call that a blunder. Our next word is cancel. Cancel is a verb and it means to call off or do away with, to cross out with lines or other marks to show that something cannot be used again. For example, maybe the principal will cancel classes if it continues to snow. So when you cancel something, you decide that it's not going to happen anymore, such as school on a very snowy day, because it might be difficult or dangerous for students to try to get to the school. So that's why in this sentence, maybe school might be canceled. You can also say, Mom had to cancel our plans this week when we got sick. If you have plans to go somewhere with your family but everyone is sick, then you might have to call the plans off or cancel them. Another way you can use this word is by saying that something is crossed off, like taken off of a list. So I could say, he canceled his name from the list. Maybe whatever activity the list was for, he decided that he didn't want to do it anymore, so he crossed out his name, he canceled his name. However, when we use this word cancel, the first meaning is the most common one. We usually use cancel to say that something has been called off or something will not happen anymore, such as school, classes, or some kind of trip or plan that you had. Our next word is continuous. Continuous is an adjective and it means going on without a stop or break. So when something is continuous, it just keeps going without stopping. There are no breaks, pauses, or rests in between. The example sentence says, continuous TV coverage began shortly after news of the disaster broke. So this sentence is talking about some kind of disaster or bad thing that happened. And of course, the news channel or the TV is going to have some information about what's happening so that people know what's going on. That's what this word coverage means. Usually someone in the news is talking about whatever problem happened. So here we're saying that this news report about what's happening is being continuous. They keep talking about it on that TV channel. They don't stop and do other things. They're just talking about it so that everyone is updated and knows what's going on. You can also use this word for something like a heavy rainstorm. You can say the continuous rain soaked the ground. So the rain kept falling down, it didn't stop, and there were no breaks. I could also say the baby made a continuous crying sound. So the baby just kept crying without stopping. Or here, the fan makes a continuous humming noise. Usually when you have a fan on, it has a little bit of a machine humming sound, and that sound keeps going until you turn the fan off. So it's a continuous sound. So anything that keeps going on without stopping until you make it stop, we can describe it as being continuous. Our next word is distribute. Distribute is a verb and it means to give out in shares, to scatter or spread. So when someone distributes something, it means they are giving it out so that everyone has a piece or a part, or so that it's spread around to different places, not just all in one spot. The example sentence says, "Our class will distribute leaflets announcing the school's fundraising drive." So a leaflet is just like a paper with some information on it, and it looks like the school is having some kind of fundraiser, some activity or event to try to raise money for the school, and the class is going to pass out some leaflets about it. So instead of saying they are passing them out, we can use this word distribute to say that they are giving those papers to a lot of different people. I could also say something like, the teacher will distribute papers to the class. So the teacher is handing out papers to all of the students so that everyone has a paper. You could even say, volunteers distributed food to families in need. So here they have some food for people who might be needing some help or don't have enough money to buy food. So they are distributing the food or they are handing it out so that everyone has a piece. You can use this word to say that you are also scattering things around, such as seeds. I can say seeds were distributed across the garden. So here all of the seeds are not just going in one little spot. You are distributing them so that they go all around the garden. And you can even say at the party, we distributed cupcakes to all of the guests. So if there's a party where cupcakes are being served, when you distribute the cupcakes, you are passing them out so that everyone has a cupcake. Our next word is document. Document can be used as a noun or as a verb. As a noun, a document is a written or printed record that gives information or proof. For example, the librarian found the old document inside a book. So here a document is a thing. It's usually some kind of paper. It can be printed or it can be something someone wrote that gives some kind of information. So a passport is a good example of a document because it has information about who you are when you're traveling to a different country. A lot of times people will also sign documents when they buy important things such as a home. So here the document is kind of just some proof that you are the owner of the home, or that you are doing all of the things that you said you would do so that you can buy this home. So that is noun document. We can also use this word as a verb. So now it's an action that people do. And as a verb, it is to give written or printed proof to support with evidence. So that means you are writing down something carefully so that there is evidence that it actually happened. For example, writers often document their sources. This means when someone is writing something like a science book, for example, the person who wrote the science book needs to say where they got their information from. All of the information is not just in the head of the person who's writing a book. They have to search for that information and then they have to summarize it in their own way. So writers will document their sources. They will make a list of where they got the information from. I could also say, scientists document their experiments. When someone is doing an experiment, they will document or they will write down all of the information that they learned or the steps that they did. So that way there is some proof of their result when they finish their experiment. And you can use this word by saying police officers document what happened at the scene. So also they will write down all of the information whenever some kind of accident happens. That way later they can look back at it and they will have the information or the evidence of what happened. So we can use this word document as a thing, like a passport that has your information. Or we can use it as a verb, the action of writing down some information. Our next word is fragile. Fragile is an adjective, and something that's fragile is easily broken or damaged. It requires special handling or care. So you have to be very careful when you have something that's fragile because you can damage it easily. And you need to hold those things very, very carefully. That way they don't get ruined. The example says, the antique was fragile and was damaged during transit. Transit means when it's being moved from one place to another. So in this sentence, there was some kind of antique. An antique is usually a very old or special item. And in the sentence, it was a fragile antique, so unfortunately it was damaged when they were moving it from one place to another. So something like a vase is always known as something that's fragile because if you drop it, it can easily break. Most antiques are fragile. And another thing that is fragile that some people don't think about are butterfly wings. They can actually be damaged very easily by things like storms or just people touching them. So I can say butterfly wings are fragile and tear easily. And of course, something that's very fragile is an egg. Eggs are fragile and can break if you squeeze them or drop them. So again, anything that can be very easily broken, usually glass items, for example, can be described as fragile. Our next word is myth. Myth is a noun, and a myth is an old story that explains why something is or how it came to be. And it's usually something imaginary. So myths are stories that people told long, long ago to explain the world. They usually include gods or heroes or some kind of magical events. And myths usually explain why something in the world exists. It's not just a fun story, it's a story that explains why something happened. So before people knew a lot about science, they would create these myths to explain the world. For example, there is a myth about a goddess named Persephone. And in the myth, Persephone is taken to the underworld and must stay there for part of each year. However, when Persephone is gone, her mother becomes so sad that plants stop growing, which creates fall and winter. When Persephone returns, her mother is happy, and spring and summer begin. So this myth is explaining why there are seasons. People didn't understand why the world has seasons, so they made this story to try to explain why that happened. Another example is the myth of Pandora. So Pandora was a woman who was given a box and told never to open it. But she opens it out of curiosity, and when she opens the box, all the bad things in the world, like sickness and sadness, escape. So it's released out of that box. The only thing that's left inside the box is the feeling of hope. So this myth explains why there are problems in the world, but also why people still have hope. The important thing to remember about this word myth is that it specifically explains why something is or why something happens. Our next word is reject. Reject is a verb, and reject means to refuse to accept, agree to, believe, or use. So you are refusing. It means you will not do any of these things. You will not accept something, you will not agree something, you will not believe in something, and you will not use something. You are rejecting it. The example sentence says, "Why did you reject the offer?" So this sentence might be asking that to someone who, let's say they were searching for a job and they got accepted to a job, but they decided to reject the offer. So they said, "No, thank you. Actually, I don't want that job." So that's what this sentence is probably talking about. We can make another sentence such as, she rejected the idea because it didn't make sense. Maybe someone had an idea, but to you it didn't make sense, so you rejected it. You can reject things like an invitation. If someone invites you to a party, but you don't want to go, then you might reject the invitation, or you might say no to the invitation. One thing that children often reject is vegetables. So here this boy rejected the broccoli. He didn't want to eat the broccoli. And a machine might reject something too. If you have money that is broken, like this one here, and you try to put it inside the machine, then the machine might reject the money. So anytime that you say no or refuse something, you can use this word reject to explain that action. Our next word is scuffle. Scuffle can be used as a verb or as a noun, and scuffle is to fight or struggle closely with. A fight or struggle. So the meaning is the same for both. We're just using one as an action and the other one as a thing. The first example sentence says, "A witness saw the two men scuffle in an alley." So there were two men who were scuffling or fighting, and there was a witness or someone who saw them doing that action. The other example says, "Police officers were called in to break up the scuffle." So here scuffle is not used as a verb anymore. Now it's a thing. It's a fight. So when we use this word scuffle, it does describe a fight. However, it's usually not a very strong fight. It might be more something between children or just pushing each other around, but not very violent or strong. So I could say something like, "The boys began to scuffle over the ball." Here in this picture, you can see the two boys are fighting over the ball. So it's not a very strong fight, but maybe they are shoving each other or trying to take the ball. So we would call that a scuffle. In the next picture over, these two boys are scuffling because of a toy. So they might be looking at each other angrily, they might be saying mean things to each other, pushing each other, things like that. And here in this picture, there are some dogs that are scuffling. I can say the two dogs scuffled before being separated. So they were fighting and then their owners came and separated them to end the scuffle. You could also say something like, teachers stopped the scuffle quickly. If these two boys were about to have a scuffle or a fight in the playground, then maybe some teachers came and stopped it before they could start or before it became worse. So anytime that you want to talk about a fight or a struggle, you can use this word scuffle. But again, remember, we usually mean it as not a very strong or serious fight. Our next word is solitary. Solitary is an adjective and it means living or being alone, being the only one. For example, the old man led a solitary life. So when someone is solitary, they are either choosing to be alone or they might live or be in a place that is very far away from everything, so it's described as being solitary. So when I use this word, I could make a sentence like, she enjoyed solitary walks in the forest. So maybe in this big forest there are not many people, so she enjoyed walking alone or being by herself through the forest. I could also say the eagle is a solitary bird. It enjoys living alone. It doesn't live with a group of other eagles. There are some animals that like to live in groups, and there are some animals that like to live alone. The ones who are alone, we call them solitary animals. Here I could also say the cabin stood in a solitary place. So in this place, there's not many other things around. The cabin is the only one there. It's alone, so it is a solitary place. Our next word is temporary. Temporary is an adjective, and something that is temporary is lasting or used for a limited time. So it only lasts a short time. It is not meant to be permanent or to last forever. The example says, a blow to the head can cause temporary loss of memory. So if someone hits someone on the head, that can cause them to lose their memory for a short amount of time. So we would call that temporary, a temporary loss of memory. Your memory will come back, but you might not have it for a short time. This word temporary can be used a lot to describe the effects of some medicine, for example. So if you have a very bad headache and you take some medicine for the headache, you might feel much better for a short time, but if your headache comes back, then the effect of that medicine was only temporary. It only lasted for a short time, and you might need to take more medicine. I could also use this word to describe something like a shelter. I can say we stayed in a temporary shelter. So this tent is not meant to stay there forever. It's only meant to be used for a short time. So it is temporary. And I would describe it as a temporary shelter. And this word can be used a lot when we talk about a road being closed, maybe because of some construction work. So I could say the road closure is temporary. It will only be closed for a short time and then the road will be open again. Our next word is veteran. Veteran can be used as a noun or as an adjective, and they do have different meanings here. As a noun, a veteran is a former member of the armed forces, an experienced person. The example sentence says, the veteran army officer listened attentively. So when we talk about a veteran, we're talking about a person who used to be in the military. So they were in the military either a long time ago or just they were in it before, but they are not part of the military now. So the people who used to be in the military, we now call them veterans. So I can say, my grandfather is a veteran who served in the military many years ago. The other meaning of veteran is having much experience in some job or field. So someone who knows a lot about a job or has been doing a job for a long time and knows it very, very well, we call that person a veteran. For example, I can say, she is a veteran teacher who knows how to help students learn. Or I could say, a veteran firefighter stayed calm during the emergency. So both of these people have been doing their job for a very long time. They know a lot about it. They have a lot of experience. So we call them veterans. Or we describe them as being a veteran firefighter, a veteran teacher, like that. We can also use this word, for example, to say the veteran player helped guide the younger athletes. So someone who's a veteran player, maybe they've been playing a game such as soccer for a long time, and now they are guiding the younger athletes because they already know a lot about the game. And that's all for this video. Thank you so much for listening, and I'll see you next time for the next unit. Bye!